"You were with her again," Elizabeth shouted in anger. Then she took a sip of opium, trying to ease the pain, even if just a little. London, mid-19th century. A cold, dimly lit studio. A young woman lies motionless in a bathtub filled with water. Oil lamps are placed around, meant to keep the water warm. Hour after hour, the artist John Everett Millais works tirelessly, painting every fold of the dress, every fallen petal, every wet strand of hair. Her name was Elizabeth Siddal, the red-haired muse of the Pre-Raphaelites. She shivered from the cold but remained silent, afraid to break the artist's inspiration. After these sessions, she fell seriously ill. A heavy cold turned into pneumonia. At that time, illnesses like that often ended in death. Victorian medicine was powerless against such dangers. Elizabeth's father demanded compensation from Millais. The artist paid for a doctor. The doctor prescribed laudanum, a popular opium tincture of the day. They called it a miracle. In truth, it was a slow poison. Addictive, deceptive, deadly. People said it was her posing for Ophelia that shattered Elizabeth's already fragile health. But the truth is, weakness had been hiding inside her for a long time. Elizabeth was born in 1829 to a modest family. She worked in a hat shop, lived a quiet life like thousands of other girls. No one expected her name would be remembered in history. Everything changed the day the young artist Walter Deverell walked into the shop. He saw her, tall, pale, with vivid red hair, and immediately asked her to pose. She agreed, hesitant, but with a quiet flame inside her. From that day on, Elizabeth became the muse of the young Pre-Raphaelite brotherhood. They sought simplicity, brightness, honesty, and found it all in her. Her face looked like something from an ancient legend, as if she had stepped out of a medieval painting, bringing their dreams to life. To them, she wasn't just a model, she became a symbol. Millais begins working on Ophelia. He wants realism. Elizabeth lies again in a tub of water. At first the water is warm, then the lamps go out. The water turns icy. Elizabeth stays still, afraid to ruin the painting. By the end, she can barely breathe, her body stiff with cold, her lips turning blue. But she says nothing. Afterward, life moved on. Elizabeth was no longer just a model. She wrote poetry, painted delicate, sorrowful images. Her poems spoke of loneliness, sadness, and dreams of unreachable happiness. Yet most still saw her only as that Ophelia, a muse. Not a person. Her own talents went largely unnoticed. It was around this time that Dante Gabriel Rossetti entered her life. An artist, a poet, passionate and unstable. They fell in love instantly. Rossetti took her into his home, forbade her to pose for anyone else, painted her and only her. But the years passed, and no marriage proposal came. Rossetti flirted with other women. Elizabeth suffered in silence, loving him, aching from it. Her illnesses worsened. She left London, lived in Nice, in Paris, later in Sheffield. They hardly wrote to each other. When her health declined beyond hope, Rossetti returned, proposed at last. In the spring of 1860, they married. Elizabeth was so weak she had to be carried into the church. Pale, fragile, like a porcelain doll. At first, it seemed a new life was beginning. They rented a cozy house, hoped for a child. Elizabeth dreamed of happiness after so many years of pain. But tragedy struck again. In 1861, their baby was stillborn. Elizabeth blamed herself. Her soul was broken. She fell into deep depression, grew ever more dependent on laudanum. The fights became more frequent. Her health deteriorated. February 1862. After a dinner with friends, Rossetti left Elizabeth at home. When he returned, he found her unconscious. The sweet, sickly smell of opium filled the room. Doctors tried to revive her. It was too late. On February 11th, 1862, Elizabeth Siddal died. She was just 32 years old. The official cause, an accidental overdose, but many believed it was suicide. Some said she left a farewell letter. Rossetti burned it to protect her from disgrace. She was buried at Highgate Cemetery. Her grave remains shrouded in mystery. People still visit, leaving flowers, sensing her lingering sorrow. Rossetti was crushed. At her funeral, he placed his unpublished poems in her coffin, swearing he would never write again. Years passed. but he could not escape her memory. In 1869, desperate and tormented, he secretly ordered her grave to be opened, to retrieve the poems he had buried with her. They said Elizabeth's body was perfectly preserved. Her flaming red hair had continued to grow, filling the coffin. The poems were recovered, saved from the grave. In 1870, Rossetti published them. The book was praised, yet the story of the exhumation shocked London. Even his closest friends called it madness. He lived a few more years, painting, drinking, trying to forget. On April 9, 1883, Dante Gabriel Rossetti died at the age of 53. His heart, they say, remained with Elizabeth forever.